Y'all, they about to garnish our wages.
My principal of $242,640 with an interest thus far of $16,211. So earlier I did the math and it's $1,800 a month for the next 25 years.
Found out that my estimated student loan debt payoff is in the year 2049.
I have paid $50,000 to my $50,000 loan. Getting an education should be free.
This gonna be a mess.
Well, here we are. 38% of student loan borrowers are behind. They totally never either paid for them, they can't pay for them, or they're in the arrears. And it's got to be a real conversation. This is the next financial problem to implode on our society. We're looking at full default for most of these people as the payments are having to be made now. A lot of people are getting their wages garnished, their paychecks grabbed by Uncle Sam before they can even see it. It's happening. The debt collector is coming.
Not me entering my final stage of full-blown crash out. I'm literally crashing out. I was so excited for tonight. Oh my God, I'm so worked up. I was gonna get dressed up. I mean, I still am. I'm definitely getting a martini now. Last week, I fucking hate student loans. Last month, I set up auto pay because I don't want to forget. I don't like being late. You could never get on the phone with these stupid student loan people. And I log on today because I have to get my fucking tax documents. My life. Life never ends. I'm like, oh my God, it says my payment's late. And I'm like, how does that even make sense? I set up auto pay last month with my card and my bank and all the stupid information. And then I call them today and they're like, it's going to be a 3-hour and 50-minute wait time. And then I'm trying to have dad help me. And I'm like, what did you guys have me set up auto pay for that if my payments are now late? And I'm like,
We've been paying on these loans for 15 or 20 years, and I still owe the exact same amount that I owed when I borrowed it. I have paid $50,000 to my $50,000 loan. I've paid over that, and I still owe like $47,000. They're never going away. I could pay on them for 50 years, and when I die, the bill will go in my casket with me. You want to know why people don't want to pay them? It's because they're never ending. It's not like a normal loan. They're impossible to pay, and the interest rates are astronomical, and they don't want us to be able to pay them off. They're predatory, and they should be illegal. Getting an education should be free. We live in America. Nothing is free. So in America, you can go to college for $200,000 and not even be guaranteed a job. If you get a job, you might make $20 an hour, the same as the guy at McDonald's, but have to pay.
You know, an entire generation, especially my generation, was told, go to school, get a degree. You're nothing without a degree. My mom would brag to her friends on, or they would brag to each other on what their son was doing for their master's or their PhD or law school. And we were sold this bill of goods that you had to go. And I remember looking at law school and was like, I gotta go. But it was private school. It was going to be $130,000. I didn't have the money. And I remember thinking like, man, like I go borrow it. And then like, how would I get a job afterwards? And how would I pay for this? Well, this is a real question for our society. And many of these people were told, go to school. These colleges sold them a terrible degree. Pull a professor beside and ask them, and they will say they make up a third of those classes just to get somebody to fill a slot in a degree schedule. And then, oh, let's jack up the price on it out of state. And before you know it, these kids can't even afford a house. So now you got to afford a house. You got to afford a car. You got to afford your student loans. You've got to afford all these debt things.
Student loan interest rate is more than my mortgage interest rate. And I lied in my last video earlier. I said I had $248,000 worth of student loans. I don't. I have $258,000 worth of student loans. My principal of $242,640 with an interest thus far of $16,211. So earlier I did the math and it's $1,800 a month for the next 25 years on an income-driven repayment program. If I complete that, I will pay $540,000 worth of student loans where I only took out $242,000. Hardworking people are not asking for our loans to be forgiven. We are asking for reasonable interest rates. And yeah, I'm hyped up. Y'all don't see me make videos like this. This is not normal for me. But I am I've gotten to, who else would be advocating? Somebody has to be advocating for this, and it has to be the people that are impacted the most, because it's not the people that don't understand it. They're like, yeah, make them pay their student loans yourself. We're not asking not to pay them. There might be some people, but I'm not one of the people. I'm one of the people that's like, hey, do you know what the student loan interest rate is?
Found out that my estimated student loan debt payoff is in the year 2049. 2049. 2049. Do I have my fiance start planning my funeral today or tomorrow?
Here's the thing. You are slave to the lender for the rest of your life. Your debt to income, your financial power is going to be behind because of these handcuffs the lender put on you. And the last generation told us we had to have this degree. And I don't use my degree for nothing. Well, theoretically. The money I made had nothing to do with my degree. Here on this YouTube channel and all the real estate I did, I learned from a book on YouTube. And I think we've got to really start looking at what we are calling education. Because a lot of these degrees at these universities are worthless. Everybody has a degree now, and it's completely watered down. Why should we have to go to school until we're 25 or 24 after we went to school K through 12th grade? And then why can't we get certifications, and why can't we get hands-on trades anymore? Like, why does everything have to go to these universities? I'll tell you why, because that's how they fixed it. I'll tell you later.
Y'all, they about to garnish our wages. They really know how to just ruin your day. The U.S. government hates everybody here. Y'all, as of May 5th, they're taking 15% of your wages towards student loans. Y'all, I've been ignoring student loans since I've been in school. If y'all know how much I owe in student loan, y'all would think I went to school to be a lawyer. And it's a degree that wasn't even providing me a decent lifestyle. I was just living off vibes. So you mean to tell me I went to school and y'all lied to me? Y'all wanted me to go out there and do triple the work to get a degree. Y'all, I owe so much money. I'm in Texas, so we don't have state tax. 15%. Hell, you might as well go ahead and add 5 more. Add 10. Because that's the state tax. I cannot believe this. I just had to pull over, y'all. My head started throbbing. I'm about to get a headache. They're doing this in a couple of weeks, y'all. I got to go do deferment. I got to go do something. Y'all, we can't get away from this. People are even already saying that their credit score has dropped from a 700 something to a 500 something. Oh my gosh, my credit score. 15%, whether you have it or not, as of May 5th. So long as you have money in your bank account, they are taking it. In fact, financial aid just called me the other day and I hung up on them. Not in the mood, don't have it. I'm living off life. I'm vibing. This man really said, you know what? Let's make the rich richer. Let's make the others poor.
Well, maybe you shouldn't have gotten student loans. Maybe you shouldn't have taken student loans out. Here's my 2 cents on student loans. So many people are saying, well, it was your idea to take out student loans. 90% of people who go to college have no other choice. Not to mention, in high school, the only thing you're taught is you need to graduate high school so you can get into a good college. You're not taught these are the other options that you can do instead of going to college, because college is not the only option.
Well, here's the thing. If you borrow money, you got to pay it back. You knew it when you borrowed it. You had to pay it back. And I don't understand how all of a sudden people are like, oh, my student loan debt, I just figured it out, is $184,000. Well, did you not know when you took it out? But I will say this, that nobody advised students when I was young about student loans and the repercussions of it. You know, I was savvy enough, kinda, to understand interest rate and overtime and how much money. And that's why I went in the military. I said, I want to be a lawyer. And I can't pay for it. Therefore, I must pick up a rifle and a rucksack and go do what they tell me to fight a war in order to go to school. And that's what I did to get the GI Bill. Didn't go to law school, but I went to business school. And then for so many on the internet to sit there and say, well, you know, I shouldn't have to pay this back. The president is the problem. No, you borrowed the money and now you have to pay it back. And you honestly, you said on the internet that you weren't going to pay it back, and now they're garnishing your wages like any judgment would for any outstanding debt. a court says you got an outstanding debt, they force you to pay for it. They garnish your wages, they take your check. And that's what's going on here. This is not, you know, for once, the politician coming in and saying, hey, we're doing this to you. No, you did it yourself. You took the money out. Pay it back. But I will say this, that they baked in a system that turned the kettle up on people until there's no way they're going to pay these student loans back and be able to afford a house and be able to afford a car and be able to have a family. Their debt to income ratio is too high and growing. And they sold you a product that was non-bankruptable. The key to all this is it's non-bankruptable. And you can't get rid of it like any other debt. You get a bad business debt or a big debt on your personal name, you can bankrupt it, usually, for the most part, not an attorney. But a student loan, no. If it's a federal backed loan or it is sold to the government, you can't bankrupt that thing, for what I know. Comment down below if I'm wrong. And you just put cuffs, shackles on yourself for the rest of your life.
How much do you owe in student loans and how much have you paid? Because I just went and looked at how much I owe versus how much I paid. I graduated a decade ago and I owed $50,000, right? And I said, you know what? I'm just going to be consistent. I'm going to pay my bill. And, you know, eventually that amount will go down. And I've paid $200 something a month since then, right? $200 something a month. It has been 10 years later. I started at 50,000. It's at 47,000, right? I've paid $25,000+ since I graduated college, and it's only down 3. It's not making sense. It's not making sense. $200 is already a nice sized bill. What do you want me to do? Why does it have to be so aggressive? I'm not understanding. I'm trying to pay the money back. I'm giving you what I got. You know what I'm saying? Am I supposed to be paying it for the rest of my life? Do I have to pay $1,000 a month to see progress? Like, it's getting out of hand.
Advisors should have told these people back in the day. And I'll say this. When you go to get a house, the bank will have an appraiser come out and tell you what that house is worth to protect the bank and their money, just so you theoretically won't make a mistake on pricing. They hold your hand in the deal. And you have inspections and da-da-da-da. To get a bad college degree worth nothing, you don't have to have anything. Sign here, here, and here. Here's your $50,000 at 12%. Go buy a worthless degree that won't make you any money. Now that is the real problem here. I don't know why they don't fix that. Why doesn't the legislature say, okay, in order for you to get a degree in basket weaving or underwater polo, we're going to have to audit these universities and say, what is the average wage with this degree after they graduate, and have it listed so everybody will know before they get it. Why don't they do that? But they won't do that because the universities and the people doing the loans and the federal government are all in cahoots together, and they have just made their number one asset of America is you paying your student loans at the rate of whatever percent for the rest of your life. It's almost up there with taxes and inflation. It's wild. Wake up, people.
They can't garnish this cash. They're going to have to come get it back in blood. Take your money out the bank. Take your money out the bank. When you go to work tomorrow, turn off direct deposit. Opt for a paper check. And you better take it to Food Line. Every 2 weeks. Take your check to Food Line every 2 weeks.
It doesn't work like that, okay? They're going to tell your employer to garnish your wages. Like, it's not going to come to you. Like, that's a judgment. That's when you get your wages garnished, that means it'll never come to you. And then when you pay a tax return, like when you pay your taxes, then you get your tax return back, they're going to garnish that. It's going to be first off the top. It's not how this works. You don't get to go to the Piggly Wiggly and cash your check unless you're self-employed. Not a lawyer, I'm just saying. Hashtag.
Take it and pay the 2% check cashing fee. We down bad. We down bad, y'all. We down bad. We got to do what we can do. Oh my God. Oh.
They done got us. They done got us. This time, y'all woke me up. Everything else was a joke, but this here, you got me this time. They can't garnish this cash. They're gonna have to come get it back in blood.
Got them. Okay, and the next thing you'll see is they'll start attaching these student loans to your property. Okay, if the federal government was savvy, they would just hire a bunch of lawyers to go and file liens on everybody's house for their student loans. And if they're in the arrears, it's coming off the top when you sell the property, or you'll never sell the property. Or those that aren't homestead, they can go after. That's the only way they're going to get this stuff. And people knew this for many years, that the Reaper was coming on this debt. And it's gotten so big that I don't know if they're going to bail it out or it's going to crash the whole economy. There's like, I don't know, $1.7 trillion worth of outstanding student loans and growing at a rate of interest. And right now, nobody has the money for groceries, much less paying their student loan. And then you want people to afford these high-priced houses? I'm not with student loans or not.
Gotta pay my daily little payment. Obviously, I don't show you guys every day, but currently the balance is $189,534. So
what is she, a
what do
lawyer?
I want to do today?
Okay, like,
I decided to do 10 days worth of daily interest payments today, so I think people get confused. I'm paying the amount that the interest accruals every day. So when I say like a daily interest payment, it's the amount that the interest accrues, but it's going towards the principal because I paid off the interest, if that makes sense. So these are the loans, these are the balances and the interest rates, and that obviously I don't have a payment due, but this is what I'm going ahead and paying today. So this is 10 days worth of interest accrual amounts. Another chunk down. We should almost be at 188 now, so we'll see.
The only way they get away with this is they call it a student loan. They have sold America a bill of goods that you're going to get educated. And then all they did was raise the price of getting educated to a point where everybody has shackles on. And so when I wanted to go to school, I couldn't afford to go to school. I had to either go in the Army or play baseball, get a scholarship somehow. And there was things that I didn't get to do because I wasn't able to pay for it. Law school, business school. There was things that I just my family didn't have the means to get me there, and I wasn't, I didn't have scholarships or whatever to go to law school or whatever I want to do. But then there was people that did, and they went to law school, and they racked up all this debt at an exorbitant amount of interest rates. And I still hear them sit around bragging about how they will never pay for their student loans and how I'll be dead and gone before they see that money. But I didn't get to go because I was trying to be frugal and do things the right way and not incur debt and not be way over my head in debt starting life. So I have a chip on my shoulder about this kind of stuff. I wanted to go to the top school. I wanted to go to University of Florida School of Law. I wanted to go to Harvard Business School. Couldn't afford it. Didn't have any money. So I went and fought a war instead. I picked up a rifle and did what I had to do. And sitting here now, I hear so many people underwater about to lose everything because of these student loans, and they're just okay with it. I have a chip on my shoulder about it. I could preach for hours about it.
Today, I had to log into my student loan account to print out the paperwork to have my taxes done today. So I got to get a glimpse of my student loan balance for the first time in, I don't know, presumably a year. I honestly don't remember knowing what I owed still. Now, for a point of reference, I graduated in 2011. Okay, so I've been making student loan payments for almost 14 years. I actually did the math. It was about 165 monthly student loan payments that I've made so far. Okay, now I went to pharmacy school. I'm a pharmacist. That's a doctorate degree. It took 6 years. I went to a private school, not because I wanted to, but at the time, there were only 6 schools in the state of Pennsylvania with a pharmacy program. 2 of them were state schools, 4 of them were private. Chose the school I chose because they gave me a $12,000 a year academic scholarship for the first 4 years. So I got $48,000 worth of academic scholarship. So that's why I chose that school. So my education, even with the scholarship, cost still like $250,000, roughly. Now, I'm fortunate my parents paid for a really good chunk of that, over $100,000. I don't remember the exact numbers, honestly, of how it all washed out. But I do know when I got my first student loan bill in the mail, well, I almost shit a brick, but my balance was like right around $125,000. Okay, 165 monthly payments on $125,000. How much do you think I still owe? $78,000. Yeah, I don't know. The math isn't mathing. Now, full disclosure, I did refinance at some point, which is a horrible idea. Like, at the time, it seems like a good idea because the monthly payments are so, like, overwhelming. But in the long run, you're screwing yourself when you refinance a student loan. You just are. So, 165 monthly payments. I never deferred it. I never missed a payment. And I still owe $78,000. And I've been out of school for 14 years. My oldest turns 10 next week. So realistically, if she decides to go to college, I'm going to be still paying my student loans and likely still owe like $30-some thousand on my student loans when I'm trying to figure out how to pay for her college.
That's how it works. And they keep you sending them checks for the rest of your life, your kid's life, your grandkids' life, for this chasing the dream of a college degree. We got to do something about this. We've got to restructure all this. Whatever you took out as a student loan, double it over 30 years. Because the interest rate is going to kill you. You're going to be paying mostly interest on these things. So double it and you'll probably have about, because the interest rate on it's like 8, 9, 10%. You're going to have about double of what you took out. Just think about that. Mind blowing. What do you think down below?
You may not agree with me on this one, but I'm going to say how I feel. I don't think taxpayers should have to eat the cost for student loan debt. I don't. I went to college. I have a bachelor's degree. I have a master's degree. I took out loans. I paid my loans back. That is what one does when they are fiscally responsible. We don't just keep throwing money at a situation without addressing the problem first. If people are taking large amounts of money for student loans without having any way to pay them back, that is a problem. I understand that college is expensive. I think it's totally ridiculously expensive. But that doesn't mean that as a country, as taxpayers, we should just pay off your student loans. Agree? Disagree? Let me know. I'm really intrigued to know what other people think on this one because I don't want to pay off student loan debt for other people. I paid off my own. I feel like you should pay off your own too.
Our society looks down on the electrician, they look down on the plumber, they look down on the roofer, they look down on things that you don't even need a degree for. Real estate agents. Some of the highest earners I know are real estate agents. And some of the highest earners I know are roofers. Some of the richest guys I know are plumbers. Some of the richest guys I know do HVAC. And you know how they did it? They started a business, they worked it from the ground up, or they bought a business. They learned how to use their hands, they learned how to run a business next. They started buying real estate, they started acquiring portfolio properties. They worked their way up. There is a way to make money other than going to school, getting an education degree, getting a teacher, and then paying these debts for the rest of your life. And it's wild that we require teachers to have so much education, but at the same time, don't pay them enough to pay for the education. You know, welders make $150 an hour, but nobody welds anymore. Try to get a machinist now. That's almost impossible. I tried to find a machinist the other day. You know, don't really need a lot to become a machinist, but learn how to do machining. Basic CAD, engineering, building things with their hands. Nobody wants to get dirty anymore. And there's so many ways to fill those gaps. And people say, well, you know, that's only for the men. No, I know a lot of female electricians and they do very well. I knew a lady the other day was rewiring a whole house by herself, and she was just killing it. It was awesome.
That forcing Americans to begin repaying back their student loans while also offering very little to no assistance in paying back those loans and the form of income-based, you know, all the other forms of assistance they had is going to be a show. Shit. This going to be a mess. Not only because they're in the process of gutting the Department of Education, not only because they have transferred this $1 trillion debt over to the SBA, who has not had to deal with this prior to at all. but also because the American people quite literally cannot afford it. Eggs cost $86.72 per egg right now. People are going to have to move, sell their cars, all other kind of abnormal shit, or don't do it at all and risk their wages being garnished, which will also lead to not being able to pay other bills. This gonna be a hot mess. This is, I don't think eggs literally cost $98.72 per yolk. Some people's monthly student loan bill is in the $400, $500, $600 a month without any assistance. This gonna be a hot ass mess. My goodness.
Another rich person I know started a beauty salon. A couple of them. People have gotten wealthy in so many ways that's what needs to be taught. And we think that we have to go to this university. And if you look at the professors teaching it, well, you know, look in the mirror, you know, figure out, like my business professor, he never ironed his shirt, never ironed his shoe. Like he looked like he just crawled out of bed, never been out of academia. And he was telling me how to make money. And he could barely afford to eat. That's wild. But what do you think? Comments down below. That's all I got to say. On to the next video. It's a very interesting one. And I think student loans are awful. See you guys later.